Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How you all doing? Hope you all having a happy Sunday. Boy, I tell you, I had to pause for a moment there. They said Jamaica is not a real place, and I'm beginning to really believe that it is not a real place. There's so many things that are happening that you literally can't keep up. Every week, every day, there's always something happening, a new story. Always something happening, and it's always some things that are just not pleasant, not good. You know? Really not a real place for throw, but anyway, I have to just send light and prayers and love to, persons who are suffering, persons that things have affected, families. Boy, even what happened to that young man there the other day where them beat up at the school there. Just, why? I mean, you have to wonder what is happening in our society. What on God's name is happening? Boy, Jamaica is becoming not a real place. And we really have to take control of what is happening. Because it's pure madness. And it's not only Jamaica either, All over the world, a lot of things are happening. Crazy. As I say, you can't keep up with the news. Can't keep up at all, at all, at all. And sometimes what is happening is very depressing, scary, frightening. What is happening? But what to do? We have to try to be our brother's keeper. We have to try to do the right thing. Come on, people. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Anyway, welcome to Karen Vibes. And you can find me on YouTube. So Karen Vibes on YouTube, and it's KarenVibes with an exclamation sign. Alright, so it's reading for the mature audience, and if you've been following me, you would have noted that we've been reading the book Minty Alley. So the name of the book that I'm reading is Minty Alley. I need to find a way. There's a way when I turn the book you can actually see the name, but and the name, it's a very old book. I see all the word rubbing off. I have to go probably put a piece of tape and then write the word back over. But the name of the book is Minty Alley, and it's written by C.L.R. James and narrated by moi, Karen Ware. Alright, so without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So the last place that we stopped, we read chapter 5. And chapter 5 was about, so if you've been following me on my page, you would have seen where we left off. So chapter 5, so the last part we read was chapter 5, where the nurse, beat the little boy and gave him a good thrashing and all of that. And he had wheels all over his body, and he ran into Mr. Haynes' room, which Mr. Haynes is the main character. Ran into his room, and Mr. Haynes couldn't save him and all of that. And eventually when he came out, mother beat him and the whole drama. And so that was the part that we had stopped at. We read chapter 5 and we finished chapter 5. So we are now at chapter 6. Alright, so without further ado, so grab your coffee, grab your tea. Oh my goodness, this week coming, I'm going to be introducing my teas on my page here. K Spicy Teas. I'm going to be introducing my teas, and those who are interested can actually order their teas. So, but I'll speak about that at a further date, further down in the week. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your lemonade, grab your, lemonade and sour orange is the same thing. Whatever it is that you like to munch on, or whatever. If you're busy doing something, please join in my reading by listening. Alright, Alright, so without further ado, we begin. So we're at chapter 6. Alright, here goes. But that very evening, the nurse paid him a visit. As soon as it was dark, she came. She knocked, waited a little, and said it was the nurse. She walked in, drew a chair to Haynes' bedside, and sat down. Mr. Haynes, I waited until Ella was gone because Ella seems to believe that you are her property. Sonny sent to say goodnight and to apologize for his behavior today. I suppose that you think me a cruel mother, but Sonny is my only child, and all my hopes are on him. I'll give him anything he wants, and that I'll give him anything he wants, and that a child should have. But he will obey me until he is a man for himself. Excuse me just a second, let me close that door. Alright, so there was a door banging, so I had to go close it. My apologies. Alright, so let's pick up where we stopped. Alright, so where did we stop? I'll give him anything he wants, and that a child should have. But he will have to obey me until he's a man for himself. Yes, murmured Haynes. I have come to see that foot of yours. Let me feel your pulse. I believe you have some fever. She took a case from her pocket, opened it, and drew out a thermometer. Put this in your mouth. A simple bruise shouldn't give so much trouble. If it were only a bruise, it should have healed long ago. Yes, you have a temperature. Let me see the foot. Getting better? It's festering below. This needs attention. It's a good thing I came. Excuse me a minute. She returned with a small basin, bottles, and cotton wool, and took charge of Haynes as if he were Sonny. He watched her. It was the first time that he had ever been so close to her. She was very thin, thinner even than she appeared at a distance. She was to all appearances white, but the telltale fingernails showed the colored blood. She was somewhere in the late 30s, battered by life, but certainly of superior style and breeding to the others in the house. Not that Miss Rose, for instance, was in any way vulgar, not at all, but from the nurse's deportment and speech, Haynes felt instinctively that she had been reared in surroundings different to her present position. Or perhaps her nurse's training had helped to give a refined quality to her voice and manner. He noted again the extreme fairness of her complexion and her long, silky, almost golden hair. If she had had money, she would have been able to take her place with the white aristocracy. 99% of whom had more colored blood than she had. Ben didn't seem the type of man to attract her. He was very black, with no compensation of money, profession, or personal charm to atone for the social and economic disadvantages of his black skin. He was a man as good as married. 18 years he and Mrs. Rose had lived together. Life had left its mark upon her, in her weather-beaten body and hard style as much as in the fact that she, a professional woman with so fair a skin, lived openly and without shame in the house of these lowly black folk. And she was not only Ben's mistress, she was on the best of terms with the woman who was Ben's wife, as good as his wife. And now she had come into Haynes' room and taken charge of him, and having washed and bound his foot, gave him quinine, lowered his lamp, and told him that it was time to go to bed. So that what, with his illness and the excitement of the afternoon, Haynes merely did as he was told, and when she left, lay in bed, feeling curiously flattered. It was only long after she had gone that Haynes recalled with a guilty start that the loathing which he had felt for her over the beating of Sonny had almost entirely disappeared. It was only long after she had gone that Haynes recalled with a, oh, they wrote this 2 times anyway. It was only long after she had gone that Haynes recalled with a guilty start that the loathing which he had felt for her over the beating of Sonny had almost entirely disappeared. After that, the nurse came twice a day, morning and afternoon, to attend to Haynes. She talked easily, told him a lot about herself, and extracted twice as much from him. She told Haynes that she was not a fully certified nurse and still had her final examination to take. Her constant failure she attributed to the personal spite of an examining doctor at the hospital. She told him as easily as good morning that she had been engaged to be married to a doctor who had seduced her and then deserted her. But Ella said no, she had been wild from early, and Sonny was not her firstborn. Ella, in fact, displayed an open hostility to the nurse's coming into the room at all, and it increased when the nurse began to bring in food for Haynes to eat. Haynes was feverish and had no appetite, and the nurse made eggnogs and Mrs. Rose boiled soups and baked custards, and the nurse brought them in and insisted that Haynes should have them, and stood up over him and made him eat and drink, while Ella stood in the corner and scowled. I cannot understand, sir, how that foot can't get better. That nurse, sir, she is a dangerous woman. It's not good to have anything to do with that kind of person, sir. Haynes ate the custard one evening, and next morning Ella told him that she had got a room. He could move at once if he wanted. But Haynes told her that the nurse was so kind, and Mrs. Rose also, that he didn't very well see how he could clear out, even before his foot was better. It wouldn't look well. Kind, sir? That isn't kindness. They are both of them up to something. He was not altogether surprised. Therefore, when the nurse wrote him a note one morning asking him to lend her $2 till later in the day, a postscript to the note asked him to destroy as soon as he had read contents of same. Haynes sent the $2 and destroyed the note. That night she brought the $2 back. She gave it to him in an envelope with thanks and a little apology for having had to ask. Why I asked you to tear up the note was because Ella has a habit of going into your drawer when you are not here, taking out your private letters and reading them. And as you can understand, I didn't want everybody to know that I'd asked you that favor. He was further enlightened the next morning. Ella had got to know of the little transaction. The nurse borrow money from you and pay you back. But be careful, sir. Next time, she come in for more, sir. And this time, she ain't going to pay you back. You don't know the tricks of these people, sir. The next time she came, the nurse, after a little general conversation, suddenly broke out with, hold on a second, guys. Hello? Oh, when it's that call, maybe they'll call back. Alright, yeah, where did we stop? The next time she came, the nurse, after a little general conversation, suddenly broke out with, you know, Mr. Haynes, since you have come here, all of us like you very much. She washed the wound with the oxygen, delicately but firmly, holding down the leg with one hand. Haynes had some little experience of medical attendance, and she was very good at her work, firm and yet not inconsiderate. She threw the piece of cotton into the yellow mixture in the bowl and paused, looking him in the face. You can see that. He gave a foolish smile. Perhaps it was because he was not in full health, but he had to pull himself together. And we see too that you like us. Mrs. Rose and I were talking it over, and we were wondering if you would care to board with us. But Haynes was not quite so weak as all that. It's very nice of you both, nurse. It's very nice of you both, nurse, and I am sure it would be a suitable arrangement. But that would mean giving up Ella, and she has been with me too long for me to do that, I'm afraid. No, Ella will be all right. A doctor at the hospital last week asked me for a cook, and if I recommend Ella, she will get the job. And Mrs. Rose liked Ella a lot. She could sack Wilma and give Ella her job. Ella wouldn't accept such offer. She's a good girl, the nurse went on, but she is wasteful, Mr. Haynes. You keep no check on her. Boy, this nurse look like she just against Ella. You know, so she keep on and tell Haynes, oh, Ella this and Ella that. You know, it just coming like some people. They just say bad things about others. You know, try to beat them down and on just to get their way. Anyway, you keep no check on her, and you must not say things against Ella's honesty, nurse, and she is not wasteful. The nurse never flinched. I know she's honest, Mr. Haynes. Oh, I know that. And that she will do anything for you. We know that too. We were talking about it only last night and how lucky you were to have her. But, as I said, you needn't lose her, and it would come much cheaper to you. Haynes shook his head. And then you will be helping us too, the nurse continued, smoothly. Mrs. Rose is a great cook. She can make nice pastries and so on. And to tell you the truth, things are not too good with her. And the little boarding will come in very handy to us. Where I am now, I owe her money. Where I am now, I owe her some money, and I am looking everywhere for somebody to lend me $15. Oh my God, that should take her a little time. You know, when some people want something, and they take their little time and beat around the bush, as Jamaicans would say, till they come to what they want. But this is like the nurse now. So she had to go all the way around the bush for she asked for the $15. Anyway, let's read on. I am looking everywhere for somebody to lend me $15. This was a home shot. Haynes had intended to give an outright no to the boarding scheme, but shaken by the $15 hint, he temporized by saying he would think the matter over. Late that night, he was reading when he heard a knock at the door. "Who is it?" "Miss Atwell," replied a whisper. "Come in," said Haynes. Miss Atwell was small and looked very small, though wrapped in an extensive old kimono. She was nearing 50. Her face sharp and lined, but her eyes keen and alert. This was his first sight of her, but Haynes could see that she was one of those who did not wait for tomorrow but went to meet it. "And how is the foot coming on, sir?" Coming round at last, said Haynes. A withering disgust showed in her vivacious and mobile features. "Mr. Haynes," she whispered. "Mr. Haynes," she whispered. "I don't want to say anything unsociable, but if your foot had less attention, it would have been better by now. I don't believe in all this oxygen and washing. A little boric powder, that's all, sir. A little boric powder. But what I want to let you know is this, and I hope you will take no offense where none is intended. And I know that you's a gentleman, and this will go no further. But them people," she pointed towards the Rose household, "them people is a set of thieves and liars. They wants to put you against Ella. I hasn't been listening to all that the nurse been telling you about Ella, but don't believe a word they say. They wants to get you to board and then rob you. Have nothing to do with them. They does nothing but sit and conspire how to get you into their clutches. When she is talking to you in here, be very careful. She's talking very unsuspecting, but all the time she's crossing you. She's cross-picking you to find out your business. They see you look soft, Mr. Haynes, and they want to jostle you. But they can't fool me. Have nothing to do with them, Mr. Haynes. I is Ella's friend, and your friend. Good night, Mr. Haynes. Good night." Before Haynes could say a word, she had retired as suddenly as she had come. Oh my goodness. I tell you, Miss Atwell is a character. Alright, so that was chapter 6. So we're going on to chapter 7. So we're going to read a part of chapter 7. Haynes decided that he would give a very prompt and definite no to any further attempts of the nurse and Mrs. Rose to substitute themselves for Ella. If any such plan was in progress. But the nurse attack never came to a head. The next afternoon, she received a sudden call and left to take up duty. She came hurriedly in very late one night, saying that she had to take her examination the following day. But she left the examination room to go back to her patient, sending to say that she had done well, expected to pass this time, and would be home on Friday afternoon. Haynes, meanwhile, had got better and gone out to work. But he spent most of his leisure time at home resting his foot. As soon as he finished work on Friday, he returned to number 2 to be met by Ella with the news that the nurse and Mr. Ben were carrying on, and my Rose, oh my goodness, so Mrs. Rose finally found out now. Tory, as they are saying at Jamaica, Tory come to bump. Let's read on. Alright, so to be met by Ella with the news that the nurse and Mr. Ben were carrying on and Marose had found out and the nurse was coming home that afternoon. And Marose was waiting for her to come to put her out. She was going to be put out that very day. Ella and Miss Atwell and Maisie had packed the nurse's clothes and had dressed Sonny. When the nurse came, she would get her walking ticket. Here you know. Here you know. Listen, sir. Listen. They are planning an elaborate ceremony. Very well, Ella. Go outside and close my door, please. Ella, being dismissed, Haynes removed his pillow from the top of his bed to the bottom, fixed his elbows on it, and glued his eyes to his peephole, which he had enlarged and arranged and camouflaged so as to command a wide and comprehensive view of the whole yard. So he literally watching a movie in his room. The others went about their work as usual, but when Mrs. Rose, with red eyes, which she wiped every few seconds, sat on the little bench, Miss Atwell, in a clean print dress and her hair combed in some tight little plaits, which sharpened her. Sorry, let me read again. The others went about their work as usual, but Mrs. Rose, with red eyes, which she wiped every few seconds, sat on the little bench. Miss Atwell, in a clean print dress and her hair combed in some tight plaits, which sharpened her face more than ever, for 2 or 3 minutes sat next to her, then walked up and down the yard, talking and gesticulating. Norma Rose, do as I tell you. Don't lose your temper. When you lose your temper, you lose your head. And when you lose your head, you lose all. Tell her all that you have to tell her. It's you, privileged to do so. But don't lose your temper. Show her that you is as good a lady as she is. Don't be afraid for me, Miss Atwell, said Mrs. Rose. I am as good a lady as a nurse any day, and I would scorn to do what she has done. Handsome is as handsome do, said Miss Atwell. Marose, when you discovered, Maisie came running through the space between the house and the kitchen. Miss A, Miss A, Miss A, Miss A, the bailiff and Mr. Brown coming down Victoria Street. Jesus in heaven, thank you, child, said Miss Atwell. And almost as she spoke, the door slammed. You know, say Maisie terrible, you know? Maisie just fooling up Miss Atwell because they know, say, remember we started reading the story, we said that Miss Atwell owe rent, so she locked up in her room and now come out. So when she come out now trying to comfort Miss Rose, this Maisie now I make trouble upon her, tell her, say, bailiff I come. And the woman, she run in her room and bang the door. Why? What a girl can get trouble? Maisie. Everybody to work, said Mrs. Rose. Maisie, you go inside. Miss A, she called in a low voice. Miss A, she called in a low voice. Don't be afraid. I will fix everything. But minutes passed and the bailiff did not come. Nobody came. Wilma was sent to investigate and returned to say that she had been up the road and down the road, but had not seen no one and had met no one who had seen the bailiff. Mrs. Rose herself looked down the alley and spoke to a neighbor. No one had seen the bailiff. Maisie, examined and questioned, stoutly maintained that she had seen the two of them coming down the road, but nobody believed her. Mrs. Rose threatened her with a licking, and Miss Atwell had just opened her door a second time when Phyllis cried, "Look! Look! Una look!" The nurse a come. For days after, the scene was discussed with every angle and aspect. When Phyllis said, "Look, the nurse," everybody fell back as if by instinct and left a clear path for her to advance. To Mrs. Rose. She came forward, unsuspecting, to embrace and kiss Mrs. Rose as usual. So she don't know. So the nurse come now and she don't know. Say Mrs. Rose find out say she carrying on with her husband. So this would be what did I say, the kiss of Judas. "My Rose, I am back," she said. Mrs. Rose stood erect. So Mrs. Rose stood erect and waiting and made no move towards her. Even then, the nurse suspected nothing. Only when Miss Atwell said, keep your temper, my Rose," she looked up at her with a puzzled expression, like, must say, "So what's going on?" Then she looked at Mrs. Rose and realized that something was wrong, and what it was. She stopped dead. Brother Betty, the earth could have taken up, the earth just opened up and she just go right down in it. She stopped dead. Her pale face went a blotched yellow. She took one swift glance around her, and her eyes came to rest on Mrs. Rose's face and stayed there, never flinching. "We have come to the parting of the ways, nurse," said Mrs. Rose with consummate dignity. "You will not sleep in my house tonight. You're coming to kiss me, the kiss of Judas." Remember I said that? "You're coming to kiss me, the kiss of Judas. I have received many of them from you, but no more, nurse, no more. I forgave you once, but not again." The nurse had recovered her self-command, if she had ever lost it for more than a second. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. "If there's anything wrong, choose a proper time and place, and we can discuss it. I don't want to hear anything from you. It's no use you're denying it. I want no argument, no discussion. Your clothes are all packed in your basket and in parcels. Your son has been washed and dressed. Take him with you when you go. The little pieces of furniture that belong to you, you can have at any time that you want. But you must leave my house this minute. I don't want any words with you. But you have been carrying on clandestine meetings with my husband. Clandestine meetings." "He is not your husband," said the nurse. From some unseen spot, Maisie laughed slightly, shrill but very musical, with the detached appreciation of a disinterested spectator. The nurse's lips trembled in a smile, and Mrs. Rose's temper snapped. She sprang at her enemy. "My God, woman! You think you're going to stand before me and tell me what you like? You... The sentence ended in a stream of confused obscenity. Miss Atwell and Phyllis came rushing to hold back Miss Rose. The nurse tripped lightly up the steps and came back at once with Sonny and her parcels. So it looked like the nurse going to leave. "Keep your temper, my Rose. Keep your temper," Miss Atwell counseled. And Mrs. Rose and held, let me read this again. "Keep your temper, my Rose. Keep your temper." Miss Atwell counseled and held Mrs. Rose by the arm. "Madam, let her go in peace," said Phyllis, and held her by the other arm. The nurse walked away, but just as she was about to turn into the passage between the house and the edge, she stopped, and looking around at everyone, she said, "Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody." "Go, you snake," said Mrs. Rose. "Go back to the prostitution I took you from. Go away, you snake." The nurse turned back once more and spoke in the same cool and gentle voice she had spoken to Sonny the day she had sat waiting for him with the cane across her knees. "I'm going, my Rose, but don't be afraid. Mr. Ben is coming with me too." And then, as if suddenly inspired, she smiled the same cold little smile and said, "Doggy, doggy, doggy, look bone." But what a woman out of order in people. What a woman. This nurse, she out of order. How you can be going on and having an affair with the lady's husband and come and talk about. And when the lady confront her, she going to come talk about doggy, doggy. No, what she said? The man coming with her. When the woman put her out her house, she going to turn around and tell the lady, say the man coming with her. And then she going to talk, turn around and I tell the lady about doggy, doggy, doggy look bone. You see the woman out of order. Why? There's always a moral in this story, you know. You turn when you try to help people and stuff, and they turn around and stab you in the back. Well, this is it from Miss Rose. She took up the nurse and helped her and assisted her, and this is what they pay back the nurse. Pay her back. This is just a story, but these things are happening in real life. Yep, happening in real life. Right, so anyway, so we read chapter 6 and we read chapter 7, so we're going to stop there for today. Yeah, kind of a little sad though. Kind of feel sorry for Miss Rose. She's one of the characters in the book that I love. Miss Rose, feel sorry for her. She got through a lot, but they say it's life. So we're going to stop there. So we finished chapter 6 and chapter 7. And then when we come back on, we'll be at chapter 8. So we're going through, man. We're getting there. Getting there. Book soon finish. So guys, please, folks, please remember to, once you get to my channel and you've been listening to my stories, please leave your comments. I'd love to hear from you. I really love to hear from you. Please leave your comments. Let me know what you think about them. Books I've been reading, about the stories and stuff. And the book that I promised to go through with you guys, The Career Woman by Ruth Heron, I decided that I'm going to do that book by itself. So after I'm finished this book, I'm going to start on that book. I'm going to just do that by itself. So my apologies if those of you are anticipating hearing from me going through with that book, but I'm gonna do it after I finish reading Minty Alley. Alright, so we will get there. Lots of book gonna be going through and reading, motivational books, novels, everything. So we'll stop there for today. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for having me into your space. I appreciate it. So please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Please remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share, and leave your comments. Your comments would mean so much to me. And please tell others about it. Tell others about it, tell others about it, tell others about it. Forgive me when I read, I tend to have a bit of a list tongue. So that's one of my glitches when reading, but I don't make that hinder me. And whenever I read, I'm always looking at my tooth. I'm actually waiting to get them done with my braces. Just doing some procedures, so I have to just wait to get that done. But self-confidence is there. I'm not, somebody was saying it to me the other day, "Oh, your tooth or whatever." And I said, I don't care. Not that it's going to be that way forever. So It is what it is. But it's a lesson to person. Just always have self-confidence in whatever you do, no matter what people say. Just do what you have to do. Just get out there and do it. And believe in yourself. Anything you do, believe in yourself. As Marcus, well, we're in Black History Month now. But this goes for, everyday life. Marcus Garvey said, without confidence, we are twice defeated in the race of life. So no matter how you look, whether you look ugly or pretty or whatever, as a matter of fact, nobody's ugly. We're all beautiful in our own ways. You don't make nobody put you down and say you can't do this or you don't have the face for TV or media or whatever. You do what you have to do and believe in yourself. Yeah. Anyway, enough of my chatting. So peace out. Thank you for joining me. And we'll link up again. Be back on. Bye.